Today on Amazing Dinosaurs is a T-Rex versus I-Rex collection, and I've got a bin overflowing with T-Rexes and I-Rexes here. Plus, I've got one of the new dino trackers right here that we'll check out as well. Let's get started with these super colossal figures. This is the Jurassic World Dominion T-Rex with the dark brown coloring and the black detailing along its body. The other super colossal T-Rex I have selected for this collection is a custom colored one. Check out this light blue coloring and the dark red eyes. And this T-Rex figure is definitely a lot older than the Dominion T-Rex figure. And we're gonna stand them together on the T-Rex side. And now for the I-Rex side. This is the super colossal I-Rex figure. I believe was released as part of Camp Cretaceous. It's got a whole lot more bumps and texturing compared to the T-Rex figures, and I love its teeth. And that figure is gonna go over here on the I-Rex side. And next up, why don't we open up the brand new Dino Trackers Indominus Rex. Now this new I-Rex figure is very interesting. It's actually quite a bit smaller than many of my other I-Rex figures. You can see the barcode scanner right there for the app, so you can check that out on your phone. Of course, it's still got the same coloring and detailing as many of the other I-Rex figures, but this one has a feature that I don't know I've ever seen before. It has the button on its tail to activate the chomping. But check that out, there's some glowing green lights inside. That's pretty cool. So now let's set this on the I-Rex side, right in front of the Super Colossal. Now let's go over here to our bin and grab another T-Rex. We're first gonna go with this one. I believe this is a Camp Cretaceous battle damage T-Rex. They actually released another one for Jurassic World Dominion that's pretty similar, other than it has different coloring. But these figures are pretty cool because they've got the huge battle damage on the side that you can turn on and off with the click of a button. That's pretty cool. And we're gonna place this right underneath the Dominion T-Rex. Now back to the I-Rexes, we're gonna grab this camouflage I-Rex one. This one looks pretty wild. Now this one is actually a custom colored I-Rex. So all this coloring you can see here was done in detail by someone that I bought from on eBay. Even the blood on its mouth too. That's pretty awesome. Now let's find a place for it on the I-Rex side. How about way there in the back? There we go. Now back to the T-Rexes, we're gonna go with this big figure. This is the Terran T-Rex. This Jurassic World T-Rex has the classic brown coloring over most of its body and a slightly lighter underbelly. You can see it's got some hidden battle damage along its face. It looks like those are kind of scars. That's pretty cool. But the special feature of this figure is the button on its back, which causes a huge tearing action. And not only that, but there's another button on its back to swing the tail back and forth too. So now let's set this on the T-Rex side, and we're gonna have it go way in the back over here. And this T-Rex is really face to face with that I-Rex figure. Next, let's grab this huge I-Rex figure right here. This is the Battle Damage Edition I-Rex. Check out the size difference between this one and the Dino Tracker I-Rex that I just bought. This one might be twice the size of that one. And it's still got all the cool texturing and spikes and detailing. Plus it has the battle damage on its side that you can turn on and off. Now let's set this one in the back here, right next to the Super Colossal I-Rex. For the T-Rexes, we're gonna go with the Jurassic World Dominion version. Now this T-Rex figure looks very similar to the Dominion Super Colossal figure right here. You can tell that this was the color theme that they were going for that film. And like many other T-Rex figures, it has the tail that can move the torso around, as well as open and close the jaw. We're gonna put this one right next to the older Super Colossal T-Rex. Let's dive back in here. This other giant T-Rex figure is one of the classic I-Rexes. This Jurassic World figure is pretty similar to the battle damage one way back here, except that it doesn't have the battle damage on the side. Instead, it has a button right on its back used for slashing its claws. Plus, of course, you can use the button on the tail to activate the jaw. And we're gonna set this one right next to the battle damage I-Rex. This is the Stomp and Escape T-Rex from Jurassic World. And this figure is built a little bit differently than a lot of the other T-Rex figures. You can see that its legs actually have different joints, as well as this big joint right in its torso. And I'll show you what that does. So it has this really cool action where it lifts up its head to roar. And the other cool part is that you can actually twist the tail to get stomping action with sound effects. So that's why those weird looking joints are right there. And of course, this T-Rex figure is gonna go on the T-Rex side. This next one is a pretty special I-Rex figure. This is a hybrid edition I-Rex. Now this Jurassic World figure actually came out for the first Jurassic World movie and was made by Hasbro instead of Mattel, who makes many of the newer figures now. It's got some crazy coloring on its arms and its underbelly and feet, and that bright red along its back and its head too. Plus there's a hidden action button on its side that you can press to activate more spikes on its back. So now let's set this on the I-Rex side, right on the front lines. Now right here is that Jurassic World Dominion battle damage T-Rex that I was telling you about earlier. Now let's compare it to the earlier version that they released, and they're pretty similar in shape and size. I wouldn't be surprised if they're actually the exact same figure, but with different coloring. And this Dominion version is a much more like orange-brown coloring over all of its body, but it's still got the battle damage on its side. Now let's set up this T-Rex right next to the others. This next I-Rex figure is pretty unusual actually. It looks totally different than many of the other figures. This figure is still made by Mattel, but I believe it's from the Imaginext line. So it looks to be like a figure for a slightly younger audience. But it has one of the most unique attack actions that I've ever seen. When you move its tail up and down, it actually swings its torso in all sorts of directions. That's pretty cool. That is very unique too. So let's go ahead and set it down on the I-Rex side. This T-Rex figure is another extreme damage T-Rex, but it is not like the others. And that's because it does not have the battle damage opening on the side that you can press a button, but rather it has this painting all over its body for the battle damage. And other than that, it has a very orange coloring with the darker brown on top. And let's set it in the back here next to the Dominion T-Rex. This I-Rex figure is another one made by Hasbro for the first Jurassic World movie. And it sure is quite a bit different. First off, it's got this real feel skin along its neck and on the top of its head. And instead of having a chomping button on its tail, you can actually move its arm to open and close its mouth. And you can kind of tell on its back that it has lights underneath whenever you move its arm, but it's pretty faint, so you can't really tell when it's light out. But nonetheless, let's set it down on the I-Rex side here. For the T-Rex side, we're gonna go with another figure that was released for the first Jurassic World movie, made by Hasbro. This smaller T-Rex figure is a light tan color, much lighter than the Dominion damaged T-Rex back there. And it looks pretty different in design too. It has a much longer head, a smaller body, and it has a single action button on its back for the chomping action. Now this figure is pretty old, so it doesn't work as well, but we're gonna put it right next to the extreme battle damage T-Rex on this side. Up next, we've got the Feeding Frenzy Indominus Rex figure. This figure is a whole lot smaller than a lot of the Indominus Rex figures we've seen so far, but it still has a pretty large face for how small its body is. And it's got some unique special features. First, there's this button on its nose that you can get some sound effects from. Then you can move its tail to open up its mouth. Then you can feed this Indominus Rex by pressing down on its mouth, and it'll chomp its mouth closed. Now let's set this I-Rex right on the front lines against the T-Rexes. This next figure is a classic T-Rex, I think was released for the second Jurassic World movie, which is Fallen Kingdom. It's got the classic brown body with a darker top and a button at the top of its head for the chomping and roaring action. And we're gonna put this guy right on the edge because we're running out of space for all these T-Rexes. This is the Sound Surge Indominus Rex figure released for Jurassic World Dominion. It's pretty basic in design. It has the same coloring as all the rest, but its one big feature is that it has this speaker on its side and this button on the top for the sound effects. Let's place this dino right behind the Feeding Frenzy I-Rex. And I've actually got the Sound Surge edition for the T-Rex as well. It's actually a little bit smaller than the I-Rex figure, but it still has the button on its top for the sound effects. And we're gonna place this one on the front lines of the T-Rex side. This next figure is an even smaller I-Rex figure. This is from the first Jurassic World movie as well. It has some battle damage on its side that you can open and close, and you can use the tail on this figure to move the head and chomp its mouth. Now let's place this kind of in the back for the Irex side. We're getting down to just a few T-Rexes left. This is a Lego T-Rex figure for Jurassic World. It has kind of similar coloring compared to the Jurassic World regular figures with the brown, and it's got some darker brown detailing along its body. So why don't we place this right up front here next to the Sound Surge T-Rex. I've also got the Lego Irex figure. This one, interestingly, is actually a similar color to the Lego T-Rex over here instead of the classic gray coloring for the Irex. I think that makes it pretty cool. Plus, it has some really cool teeth. They're pretty unique, I think. Check that out compared to the T-Rex over here. And here's the Irex's teeth. And our next T-Rex figure is a super small green T-Rex figure from the first Jurassic World movie. It's got a pretty large face for its size. It has some battle damage right on the side of its body, and you can use the tail to chomp the head and move the head back and forth too. Let's set this up right next to the Lego T-Rex. And here is our final Irex. This, I believe, is the Bite and Thrash Indominus Rex. Now, similar to this T-Rex that we just saw a moment ago, this one has the battle damage right on the side, and you can use the tail to move the head up and down and chomp the jaws. And we're actually gonna leave this figure right here, right in front of the Lego Irex. And here is our final figure of this collection. It is a juvenile T-Rex figure. It has a light green body with a darker brown accenting on its back, and you can use the tail to chomp the mouth open and closed, which is pretty cool considering how small this figure is. Now the full collection is set up. Who do you think would win in this battle? The T-Rexes or the Irexes? Welcome back. Today I've got a ton of Allosauruses, Carnotauruses, and Spinosauruses, and I'm going to be putting them all up on this empty space on my display shelves. Let's start with this big old custom colored Spinosaurus figure. This figure was custom painted a long time ago and has a ton more detail than a lot of the other Spinosaurus figures, and is one of my favorites because of that color coding. Let's grab some of these other Spinosauruses. This is the Camp Cretaceous Spinosaurus with the tan and the red spine and red face. Why don't we put that one right next to the custom colored one, right over here. And here's another giant Spinosaurus figure. I believe this one is the Legacy Collection Spinosaurus, so it's got different coloring than the Camp Cretaceous dinosaur, but it has the same red spine and the red face as well. And look at the color difference with their eyes. Next up, I actually just bought another custom colored Spinosaurus. So let's open it up and see what it looks like. All right, so this is a Hammond Collection Spinosaurus that has been custom colored by someone that I purchased from on eBay. It's still got the red spine, but it's got some cool blue coloring. It's got red along its back. It's got a bunch of white, pretty good detailing. This is really cool, and it's got some darker green eyes as well. So let's put this right in front of these bigger Spinosaurus figures. All right, let's dig into some of these Carnotaurus figures. This first one is one of the darker versions, so it's a brown with black spots on its back, and of course it's got the action button on its tail to open and close its mouth with sound effects too. So let's put this right here next to our Spinosaurus figures. And let's go ahead and grab some of these other Carnotaurus figures too. This is the Jurassic World Dominion Sound Surge Carnotaurus figure. There's a button right at the top that you can use to activate the sound effects. And you can see by putting them side by side the color difference between the two. This one is a lot brighter. And I've even got some more brighter ones in here too. This Carnotaurus is one of my brightest Carnotauruses. It's got a bright yellow and then it fades into the brown on the top. And just like the Carnotaurus on the far right, it also has the button on its tail for the chomping, and you can use its tail to move its head around too. I've still got quite a few Carnotaurus figures in here. This one is a darker red with almost purplish coloring along the top. And it's a bit smaller than these large Carnotaurus figures right here. Just a little bit smaller, and it has a different action. There's a button right at the top of its back for chomping its neck back and forth. It's a little stuck though. Let's see here, I think I've got some more Spinosaurus figures in here. This one is not made by Mattel, it's a model Spinosaurus. So it's got some pretty cool different coloring, but unfortunately you can't move any of the body parts. Let's see if we got a little bit more room up here. We might have to move the Carnotauruses over. Let's see if we can set this Spinosaurus down. Way down here is another Spinosaurus figure, another model, but with entirely different coloring. It's got the red spine, like many of these Spinosaurus figures, but it's got a much darker body. Let's set this down. I think we're gonna have to move the Carnotauruses, so I'm just gonna put this one here for now and move the Carnotauruses down to the next level. Let's see what else. Let's start with the Allosauruses. This is my biggest Allosaurus figure, and it is the extreme battle damage version from Jurassic World Dominion. Let's set this down on the far corner of the lower shelf. I've got my Carnotauruses already set up over here and the Spinosauruses on the next level. Let's go ahead and grab another Allosaurus figure. I've got a gray and yellow one, a whole lot smaller than this Jurassic World Dominion figure, but still pretty cool. It has an action on its back for snapping the jaw. And moving right along, let's grab this Spinosaurus figure. This is an old one, a Jurassic Park Spinosaurus, so it looks way different compared to these new ones over here. Let's go ahead and set it down next to these model Spinosauruses. Right over here, we've got another Allosaurus figure. This one has the tan and two-toned blue coloring. It's got two actions on its back, one for clamping the jaw and one for swinging the arms. Set this down right next to the gray and yellow Allosaurus. Let's see, all right, another Carnotaurus figure. This is a model Carnotaurus figure. It's got some really cool coloring patterns, and it's got a bright orange face, which is unlike any of the Mattel figures. Let's put this Carnotaurus, much smaller, down right there. Here's another small Carnotaurus, but this one is made by Mattel. This is actually from Jurassic World Dominion. So it's got different coloring compared to the rest of the older Carnotaurus figures, and it's also got a broken horn. Right over here, we've got another old Jurassic Park figure, but this one is an Allosaurus figure. This one actually has battle damage that you can take on and off its body. It's really cool how you can remove them completely. Let's put this down right next to the other Allosaurus figures. Oh, you know what? I've got this huge Carnotaurus figure right here. This is the super colossal Carnotaurus Toro figure. It is ginormous, and you can actually feed it smaller dinosaurs that'll go into its stomach compartment. And I think this dinosaur will have to go on the very top shelf. That's the only place that has space, I think. Check it out, super tall. Here is another Spinosaurus figure. This one has the same coloring as the Legacy Collection Spinosaurus, but is a lot smaller, and it's actually the basic version because you can't open and close its mouth. Looks like we've got some more model Carnotaurus figures. This one has some really cool spikes all along its back and some really interesting coloring as well. Let's set this down right in front of these larger Mattel Carnotauruses. Ooh, check out this Spinosaurus figure. This one is actually posed as if it's swimming through the water, which, if you know, Spinosauruses actually did hunt in the water. So this is pretty cool. Let's put this at the end. Looks like we got a little more space for a few more Spinosaurus figures. This Allosaurus figure is pretty recent. I believe it is a Camp Cretaceous Allosaurus and has the slide lever action for roaring and for moving the mouth. Well, looks like we're running out of room on the lower shelf. Hopefully we have enough space for the rest of the Allosauruses and Carnotauruses. Here's another model Carnotaurus figure. This one is like a green-yellow coloring. It still has some red detailing along the top, and it is in this really cool roaring pose. This might be the smallest Carnotaurus figure that I have on my shelf so far. Next up is another big old Allosaurus figure. I believe this one has pretty similar coloring to the extreme battle damage Allosaurus, but it has a slide lever action on its back for a bunch of different roars and chomping actions. I think we have enough space for one more Allosaurus right there. Perfect. Looks like we've got a juvenile Spinosaurus model figure right here. This one is by Papo. It's got some pretty cool detailing and coloring. You can still see some green along its spine right there. It's really cool. Now let's put this at the top shelf along with all the other Spinosaurus figures. Here's some figures that I don't show too often on the channel. This is a Snap Squad Spinosaurus by Jurassic World. It's a little itty bitty figure, and it actually has a spring-loaded mouth so you can clamp it onto stuff. But I just want to stand it up right here, so it's right next to all the other figures. Here's another Snap Squad figure, but this one is actually a Carnotaurus, and you can see that even this one has the battle damage right on the front of its face too. All right, looks like there's a little bit of space left. Let's see if we can stand this one up. There we go. And the remaining biggest figure is another Carnotaurus, but this one is gray, and it's almost like a gray-blue coloring. It's got some red right there on its neck, and some interesting bumps and texturing all over its body. All right, let's see where we can set this down. Maybe right here in the corner. All right, all that's left are these teeny tiny figures. These are both Spinosaurus figures from Jurassic World, and they are really small, but they have different coloring, which is pretty cool. You've got this gray and green one, as well as this brown and black Spinosaurus. And the final figure for this shelf build is this Carnotaurus figure from Jurassic World. And I think this actually came from McDonald's, so it was part of a Happy Meal or something. But it is officially part of Jurassic World. So let's put this down next to all the other Carnotaurus figures. Whoops, knocked over a few. Today, I'm gonna be showing you my entire raptor collection from Jurassic World and ranking them from biggest all the way to the smallest. The first and largest raptor of this collection is this custom colored super colossal Indoraptor. This used to be a Velociraptor blue figure, but now it has the black with the gold stripe down its back, or the Indoraptor. For the next biggest figure is another super colossal. This is Velociraptor blue. And as you can see, these two super colossal figures are actually identical. So this one originally used to be a Velociraptor blue just like this. Moving on to our next biggest figure is this Dino Trackers Indoraptor. This is quite a new figure, and it's got a really cool reflective blue color all over it. It's also got an action button on its back to activate its jaw. And you can move the arms to twist the neck back and forth too. Next up in size, let's see, I think it's actually another Indoraptor, but this is an older figure. This is the Grab and Growl version. And this figure is pretty hard to find nowadays, so it's actually pretty rare. And on this figure, you can use the tail to open and close the jaw, to swing the arms back and forth, and to move the entire torso. Check it out, they're pretty close in size. Next up, I'm gonna be opening a brand new one. This is the Primal Pal Velociraptor blue figure. Let's open it up. So this figure has a shorter tail than a lot of the Velociraptor figures I have, and it actually has some pretty realistic movements. You can move it side to side, it's got some sound effects, and you can push it down for a chomp action too. And let's set that right next in line. Moving right along here, I think we've got our final Indoraptor of this collection. A lot of these Indoraptors are pretty big. This is the smallest one, and it doesn't have any action buttons, but all of its limbs are still extremely posable. This next one is the basic Velociraptor blue figure. There's not too much that you can adjust with it, but it still has movable arms, legs, and a tail. This next one is another medium-sized basic Velociraptor figure, but it has totally different coloring. It's in a bright orange and brown coloring. Next, we've got our first Atrociraptor of this collection, and this figure I actually personally custom colored. This is another basic figure from Jurassic World, so it doesn't have that many action features, but I'm really happy with how the color turned out. Check it out, here's another Atrociraptor figure. This is the basic edition, once again from Jurassic World. So let's set this down right next to the custom colored one. And here is our first Pyroraptor of this collection. This is the basic edition, so you can move its arms, its legs, and its tail. And I think it might be a little bit smaller or actually the same size as the Atrociraptors. All right, here is the first and only Megaraptor that I have in my entire collection. This is from the Jurassic World Dominion series. It's got some huge claws on its hand, and when you press down on its back, it has a chomping action. For the next in size, let's go with the Hammond Edition Velociraptor. These raptors are pretty cool because they are super articulate with their limbs and they have quite a bit more detail than the basic ones. And right over here is another Amber Collection Velociraptor. This one is Velociraptor Blue. Check out that blue stripe down its back. And here is the final Amber Collection Velociraptor that I have in this collection. This one is the bright green with stripes on it. And let's set that down right next in line. Next up here is a pretty old Jurassic World figure. This is one of the first Velociraptors that Jurassic World released for the first movie. And these figures have quite a hard time standing up, so let's see if we can get it to stand up in line as the next in size. All right, I think that's about as good as it's gonna get. Here is another Atrociraptor figure in the bright orange coloring, but this is actually a Rowdy Roars Atrociraptor. Let's turn on the power and let's see it come to life. All right, now we're getting down to the real small raptors. Let's open up this new Austroraptor from the Dino Tracker series. So I think this is the only Austroraptor that I have in my entire collection. And this one has a much narrower and longer snout than a lot of the Velociraptor figures I have in my collection, but it's still got some feathering on its elbows. Right over here, I've got a super bright Velociraptor figure. It's in a bright blue color, and this one is actually spring-loaded, so you can launch it up into the air. Here, let me show you how it leaps. You press down, and then you release. This next one is another spring-loaded Velociraptor, but this is in a brown and dark brown coloring. Let's check out that jumping action on this one, too. Next up, this Velociraptor figure has a slashing action. So when you push on its torso, it swings back and forth, and it's actually spring-loaded too, so it can be pretty fast. All right, let's set this down next in line. This next one is a darker colored Velociraptor, and it has a different feature. There's a button on its back that you can use for a slashing action. Next, we've got our final Atrociraptor figure of this collection, and this is a battle damage edition. There is a button on its back that you can use to activate the battle damage on the side. And since we're out of space on the very end of the table, let's start a new line up front here. This next figure is a newer Velociraptor from Jurassic World Dominion. It's got a darker body with some bright detailing on the top. This next raptor is a really cool colored Velociraptor. Check out that green speckled detailing on the top of its body. And let's set that down right there. Here's a different looking Velociraptor blue figure. This might actually be Velociraptor Beta because it does look quite a bit younger. Now this is an amazingly colored Velociraptor. Check out that reflective gold right on its head. And let's put that next in line. All right, only two left. This next one is another Pyroraptor figure, but this one is in a battle damage edition with a button on the top to open and close the battle damage. And the final raptor in this biggest to smallest collection is this click tracker Atrociraptor. So after you turn it on, you use the remote and it follows the sound. Let's check that out. It's pretty cool. I like that it's motorized. Today we're going to be checking out a collection of some of my scariest carnivore dinosaurs from biggest to smallest, and we're going to be putting them up over here to check them out side by side. So let's get started with the biggest one, the Indominus Rex. This figure is absolutely massive. It is larger than a lot of my T-Rex figures, and this is actually the battle damage edition. See, it turns red when you press the button, which is really cool. Plus, the rest of the body is very adjustable. You can move all its arms, its legs, you can adjust its neck, and it even has a button on its tail to activate the jaw. So let's go ahead and set the Indominus Rex down at the edge right over here. Moving on, let's see what the next largest dinosaur is. Probably the Giganotosaurus. This is another super large figure. It's got the green body with the black detailing all over, and it has a few actions actually as well. The first action is a button on the top of its tail that activates the swinging action with its entire upper torso. And there's also a button beneath its tail to activate just the jaw alone. All right, let's put this Giganotosaurus down right next to the Indominus Rex. And look at the size difference even between those two as well. That's pretty crazy. All right, next up, let's see. I bet it's one of the T-Rexes, and it's probably the Hammond Collection Tyrannosaurus Rex figure. This figure has some awesome coloring and shading and is the most posable out of basically all my T-Rex figures. And an interesting feature of the Hammond collection is the realistic parts of its mouth. It's got these flaps on its side that are rubber, so they actually move around pretty realistically. The tongue is also rubberized as well. Let's put this Hammond collection T-Rex right next to the Giganotosaurus. All right, I bet the next biggest one is this other T-Rex figure. This is a Jurassic World Dominion T-Rex. It's got some brand new coloring. It's got the orange-brown color and some gray detailing on the top. And this is actually an extreme battle damage T-Rex. You can press the button to reveal the damage on its side, just like that Indominus Rex over there. So since this is the next biggest T-Rex, let's put it down right next to the Hammond Collection T-Rex. All right, looking pretty good so far. Next up in size is this Allosaurus figure from Jurassic World Dominion. This is the largest Allosaurus figure that I have, and it actually has some battle damage on the side. Let me show you that. Right here, you see it's hidden completely right now, but then you can click it down to reveal the ribs, and then you can even lift those up to reveal the intestines inside. This is really cool, and the only Allosaurus that I have that can do that. Plus, it has an action button on its back to activate the jaw. Let's put this Allosaurus down right next to the extreme battle damage T-Rex. Let's see, what's next biggest in size? I think it might be this Indoraptor right here. This thing's pretty large. It's got the all black body with the iconic gold stripe down its side. And this one actually has a few actions. You can see there's a little button on its tail right there to activate its arms. And there's a button at the bottom of its tail to activate its jaw too. All right, let's set this Indoraptor down next to the Allosaurus. That Allosaurus is quite a bit larger. All right, let's keep digging. I think this Carnotaurus might be the next largest size. It's got some battle damage on its nose, and it is the darker brown version of the Carnotaurus. And it has the action button on its tail to activate the jaw as well. Let's set it down. You know what? I think it might be larger than the Indoraptor, so let's go ahead and have them switch places real quick. There we go. That's looking better. Over here, we've got another Carnotaurus figure, but this one is smaller than the one that I just showed you, and it is a bit more brightly colored. It's a brighter red, it has the light underbelly, and then the black detailing on the top, and it has an action button on its back instead of its tail to activate the jaw. All right, let's set it down right next to the Indoraptor. Let's see, I think the next biggest carnivore in this collection is a Tarbosaurus. And this is definitely a scary looking carnivore. Check out that red underneath its chin and those red eyes too. And all those spikes, those are massive. Let's put this down right next to the Carnotaurus. Check out all those dinosaurs we have so far. Super cool. All right, let's see, next in size, maybe this other Allosaurus figure right here. This Allosaurus has a slide lever action on its back, so you get a bunch of different sound effects with it. You
can get a growl all the way to a roar. All right, let's set this dinosaur down right next to the Tarbosaurus. And it is quite a bit smaller than the Tarbosaurus. Next up, I think, is the Giganotosaurus. This is the Sound Surge Giganotosaurus, so a whole lot smaller than the one that we saw earlier, but it has the same coloring and detailing, and it has sound effects that you can hear that you can activate by pressing this button up top. All right, let's set it down right next to the Allosaurus. They're actually pretty similar in size, so it might be a little hard to tell who's larger, but I think it's still the Allosaurus. Next, I think, is a Pyroraptor figure. This is the new Jurassic World Dominion version, and it is the basic version as well, so you can't open and close the jaw, but you can move the arms, the legs, and the tail a bit. Let's set this down right next to the smaller Giganotosaurus figure. Next up in size in the Scary Carnivore collection is the Megaraptor. This thing has some super bright coloring. You can tell that it is a feathered dinosaur. You can see some feathers on its legs, on its tail, on its arms. It's pretty cool. So let's set this down right next to the Megaraptor. Next up is this slightly smaller Endoraptor, a bit smaller than the earlier version that we saw, but it has the same coloring, and this one actually does not have any action buttons, but it is super posable. Let's put this down next to the Megaraptor. Next in size, we've got the basic Atrociraptor figure from Jurassic World Dominion. This has the white body with the brown striping all over and those bright red eyes. Let's put this down next to the smaller Endoraptor. Here is an Amber Collection Velociraptor. I can't remember which Velociraptor this is, but it has the brown coloring with the darker striping all over its body. Looks like we're running out of room on the edge there, so we're gonna create a new row right up in front here. Next is this much smaller Indominus Rex figure. This is an earlier version of the Indominus Rex compared to this one way over here on the edge, and look at that size difference too. And actually, I think this smaller Indominus Rex has a slightly more blue tone than the super large one. It's pretty cool. Let's put this down right next to the Amber Collection Velociraptor. For the next smallest scary carnivore, I've actually got this brand new one from Jurassic World Dominion. This one I believe is pronounced Quilnosaurus. Let's open it up. So this is a pretty interesting looking dinosaur, and it's actually an extreme battle damage edition that you can see on the sides. Just click this button, and there you go, you reveal the damage underneath. Plus, you can pose its neck, and I think you can even open and close its mouth too. There we go. That's pretty cool. Let's put this down next to the Indominus Rex. The next up in size of scary carnivores is this extreme battle damage Pyroraptor. Just like the dinosaur that we just saw, there's a button on top that activates the battle damage. Plus, the rest of its body is posable as well. And check out the size difference from this Pyroraptor to this basic Pyroraptor right there. A huge difference in size. Let's put it down right up front here. All right, now we're getting down to the really small ones. Here is a super small Atrociraptor figure. It has the same color as the basic Atrociraptor that we saw earlier, but is a whole lot smaller. So let's put this right next to the Pyroraptor. And I've actually got one more Atrociraptor figure in here with totally different coloring. This one is a bright orange with tan stripes on its body, and it's got some yellow, evil looking eyes. So let's put this right next to the smaller Atrociraptor right in front. And it looks like we've got a few Velociraptor figures in here. This first one is Velociraptor Blue with the iconic blue striping down both sides of its body. So let's put Velociraptor Blue right next to the orange Atrociraptor. And this other Velociraptor that I've got in here is a brown and yellow Velociraptor. It's pretty similar to Velociraptor Blue, but different coloring, and it's got some reflective green eyes. That's pretty cool. Let's set this one down. And finally, I've got some super small Jurassic World scary carnivore figures in here. Let's put these on the table and check them out one by one. I think the first largest is probably this Baryonyx. I think it's a Baryonyx figure. It's all green in color, so not a whole lot of difference with the coloring, but it's got a decent amount of texturing. Let's put this next to the larger Velociraptor. Next up in size, let's see, I think is probably this Velociraptor figure. This one has 2 different colors on it, even though it's so small. Oh no, actually 3. It's got a pink tongue and the 2 tones of gray on its body. That's pretty cool. Let's put it down next to the Baryonyx. Next up is the Carnotaurus figure. I got this one pretty recently in a pack, and you can actually open and close its mouth. Let's set this one down here. And last of all is this Baryonyx figure that actually came in the same pack as this little Carnotaurus. Let's put them side by side, and it is a bit smaller. All right, we're finished.
Welcome back to the Amazing Dinosaurs channel. Today we are checking out a ton of Predator dinosaur figures from the Camp Cretaceous collection. And I've even got some huge brand new ones to open up today. Let's go ahead and start with these brand new ones. Let's start with the biggest one at the bottom here. This is the super colossal Indominus Rex. Let's open it up. This thing is already huge. Let's get those legs and tail on. Here is the fully assembled super colossal Indominus Rex. So first off, it has the typical coloring that the smaller Indominus Rexes have. But when you open up the mouth, you can see that there's a tunnel that goes all the way down into the stomach compartment right here. So you can actually feed this Indominus Rex miniature dinosaurs and then empty it out through the stomach right here. That is super cool. Plus, even though this thing is huge, it still is fully adjustable. Of course, you can adjust the jaw. You can also twist the neck. You can adjust the arms up and down. You can move the legs and ankles. And of course, you can move the tail. All in all, I'd say this dinosaur is probably around 2 feet tall and maybe 3 feet long. We've still got 2 brand new dinosaurs to open up. Let's start with the Albertosaurus. All right, so this is a medium-sized dinosaur. As you can see, it is a mostly green dinosaur, but it has those red striping on its side from the head all the way to its stomach on both sides. And there's an action button on the tail. If you press the button, it chomps the jaw. Plus, if you twist the tail, it moves its head back and forth like that. I have a few other Albertosauruses. Some of them even have battle damage on the side. This one does not, so this is just the normal primal attack Albertosaurus. Next up, we've got a feeding frenzy Indominus Rex. Let's open it up. All right, here is the Feeding Frenzy Indominus Rex. Let's check it out. So it has the same coloring as the huge one that we just saw, and it has this huge face and jaw too. This dinosaur comes with tons of sound effects, and it comes with this piece of meat. Let's see what happens when you feed it. So it's making some growling noises, and when it hits the trigger in there, its eyes start glowing too. That is pretty cool. And I love how big the teeth are on this dinosaur as well. Just look at that. Those are so huge. Right up top here, we've got another Indominus Rex. This one is still huge, not quite as huge as the super colossal one that we just opened up. And as you can see, it's colored kind of the same. It has some dark gray on the top and a lighter gray on the sides. It's got those orange eyes. And this dinosaur has 2 action buttons on it. First, you've got the tail button that activates the jaw. And then you've got a button on its back that activates the slashing action. All in all, this is a really cool Indominus Rex figure. Up next, we've got a giant Spinosaurus with dark green coloring on the sides. And on its spine, there's red, white, and a little bit of green at the bottom. Plus, this Spinosaurus is fully adjustable with the neck, the arms, the legs, and the tail. And of course, you can press the button on the top of its head to open its jaw. This is a super awesome figure and huge. Right up here, we've got a Tyrannosaurus Rex, but I believe that this one was custom colored. So you won't really see coloring like this on other T-Rexes that you can get. But look how cool it is. It's bright red, black on the top, and then the orange on the sides. It almost looks like the T-Rex is on fire. That is so awesome. Back here, we've got another T-Rex. This one is normal color. It's got brown on the sides, a darker brown on the top, and the tan belly. Plus, this dinosaur has a few action buttons as well. You can move the tail, and it moves its head around, which I really like. It's super realistic. And there's even a button on the tail that you can press to open its jaw. Back here, we've got another T-Rex, but this one is battle damage. Look at that right on the side. And pressing the button, you can turn it on and off. That is super awesome. And this T-Rex is fully adjustable with the legs, tail, neck, and the jaw as well. Back here, we've actually got another battle damaged T-Rex, but this one is a bit different than the other one. Instead of having the thing on its side right here, you can see that there's a bunch of slashes all over its body, on the tail, on its legs, on its belly, and even on its face. And just like the other T-Rexes, this is fully adjustable. You can move the tail, the legs, the arms, the neck, and this one has a button at the top to make it roar. Here is another giant Spinosaurus with different coloring than the last one we saw. This one is mostly brown with the red detailing. You can see along its face it's got that bright red coloring as well as along its spine. And even on the top you can see that there's a lighter tan and then a dark brown color right along the top. That is super cool. Fully adjustable, and it has the button on the head that you can use to open its jaw. Up next, we've got the mighty Carnotaurus. This dinosaur is a mostly tan yellow coloring, but you can see that there's orange and brown striping all the way up to its head. And this dinosaur has an action button as well. With the button on its back, you can do the chomping action. Here is the Tarbosaurus. This dinosaur has totally different coloring. It is a dark gray color with black stripes all along its body. It's got those spikes all along its spine, and right on its chin and on its neck is a bright red color. This dinosaur is fully adjustable with its arms, legs, tail. The tail actually controls the head, and the button on the tail controls the jaw as well. Here's another fierce predator. This is an Allosaurus. It's a dark green color with red and white speckles on its neck and face. And it is fully adjustable, and it's got this slide action. That is super awesome. Right over here, we've got the great Metriacanthosaurus. I think that's how you pronounce it. This is a yellow-green color on the sides. It's got the green coloring on top with the action button that controls its jaw. And it is fully adjustable in the legs and arms as well. Right over here, we've actually got a few Baryonyxes with totally different coloring. This first one, gray coloring with blue and a bright blue on the top, and it has a slide action for its roars. This second Baryonyx is brown colored, and it has blue detailing on the top and a bright orange top of the head. And the action button on this dinosaur activates the jaw. All right, here's another massive predator. This is a Carnotaurus. This dinosaur can be controlled by its tail. When you move its tail, it moves its head around. There's also a button on the tail to activate the jaw. And I love the coloring on this. This is like a dark brown red color with speckles of like a gray color as well. So it's quite detailed and fully adjustable as usual too. Right over here, we've got a super long-nosed dinosaur. This is the Sarcophagus. This is a clay red color on the top. Look at all those spikes along the top of its body. And along the bottom is a dark green color. But I love the detail of all those spikes along its back. That really gives it a strong texture. That's really cool. And the tail, of course, controls the head, so you can move the head around. Right back here, we've got a winged dinosaur. I'm sure you recognize this from the new Jurassic World Dominion movie. This is the Quetzalcoatlus, and it has two action buttons. The first on the top flaps its wings, and there's actually one on the bottom that controls the mouth. Oh, here's a dinosaur you don't see too much of. This is a Ceratosaurus. This dinosaur is gray with splotches of dark brown, and of course the red back and the super bright red face with the white horn on the very top. This dinosaur has an action button on its back that controls its jaw, and the rest of its body is fully adjustable. Right back here is another Sarcophagus, but this one has totally different coloring. It's got the blue bottom, the dark purple top, same spines though, and then it's got orange and red splotches all over its back. That is super cool. Here is another unusual predator. This is the Majungasaurus. This dinosaur is pretty brightly colored. Although it's mostly green in the back, it has those bright yellow coloring right along its back and that bright blue color right on its neck and on its head. And this figure has quite a lot of sound effects, as you can hear. The tail also moves the head around so you can make it look super realistic. All right. This is another super noisy dinosaur. This is the Cryolophosaurus. This figure is dark blue around most of its body, and it's got the orange head and neck as well. I love that accent. And with this tail, you can adjust the head and wiggle it around. How cool is that? All right, here is a full-sized Allosaurus. I love the coloring on this dinosaur. It's got the tan yellow bottom and the bright blue top. That is so cool. I think we've actually got two Allosauruses here, both with different coloring. So let's check this one out first. This one has two action buttons on the top. The first controls its jaw, and the second button controls its arms. How cool is that? The legs are fully adjustable, and the tail you can twist as well. The second Allosaurus is mostly gray with the yellow splotches all along the top of its body. And this has one action button on its back where you press it and it controls the jaw. Right over here, we've got a brightly colored Suchomimus. This is a bright yellow with brown along its spine, and this dinosaur has a few action buttons. The first controls its neck and jaw, and the second controls its tail. Plus, the rest of the figure is fully adjustable as well. Oh, here's actually a second Suchomimus with totally different coloring. This one is mostly blue along the entire body, but it's got the yellow detailing along its spine as well as those splotches. And this Suchomimus has one action on its back. When you press it down, it does a chomping action. All right, here's another Baryonyx with different coloring. This Baryonyx is light brown on the sides and the belly, and on the top has a dark blue coloring all along its back to the tail and to the head. But the coolest part of the coloring is this super reflective blue coloring right on its head. This Baryonyx is fully adjustable, and it has one action button for its jaw. Here is another Cryolophosaurus. This one is differently colored than the last one that we saw. It's mostly yellow with the brown on the top and of course the bright orange crown on its head. This dinosaur is fully adjustable. You can move the tail to adjust the head. And of course, as you can hear, it comes with tons of sound effects. Here is another Metriacanthosaurus. But once again, different coloring than the last one we saw. This one is a bright red color with brown detailing all along its back. And on the head, you can see that it's got that bright orange and yellow coloring. There is one action button on this dinosaur, and that controls the jaw. Up next, we've got another Carcharodontosaurus. Check out the coloring on this one. This is a bright blue coloring, and it's got the brown and orange specks on its back and neck, and right around its eye as well. This dinosaur is fully adjustable with legs, arms, and tail, and there's one action button on its back that when you press, it does a chomping action. All right. We've got another Baryonyx right here. This one is bright green with brown on the top. And as usual, the arms and legs are fully adjustable, and there is one action button on the top that controls its jaw. All right, check this one out. I remember this from the new Jurassic World Dominion movie. This is a Dimetrodon. And look at that huge spine on its back. It's red with yellow speckles all over it. And with this dinosaur figure, when you wiggle the tail back and forth, it opens and closes its jaw. All right, I see a ton of velociraptors in here. Let's pull a few out. This velociraptor is a green color with a darker green along the top and is fully adjustable. Even with the mouth, you can open and close. The second velociraptor is different coloring. This is a blue along most of its body. It's got the tan bottom, but the coolest part of all, it's got the yellow along the top and a shining gold along its head. It's actually reflective, which is super cool. And this velociraptor is mostly tan. You can see it along the bottom and the sides with the brown top. But most importantly, this velociraptor has a slashing action. It is spring-loaded, so you can actually twist its torso back and forth, and it'll do this slashing action. All right over here, we've got a baby T-Rex with a jaw-chomping action, brightly green colored, and fully adjustable. And this is a Dilophosaurus. It is mostly gray colored with darker gray along the top, but this Dilophosaurus actually has an action. When you move the tail, it activates its frills. That's so cool. We've still got more velociraptors in here. Let's check them out. Here are 4 velociraptors. The first is an orangish velociraptor, and it has the slashing action. The next velociraptor is a bright red color with green striping on the top. Look at how bright this velociraptor is, and it is fully adjustable. The next velociraptor is a classic one. This is blue, and it comes with battle damage on the side as well. And this velociraptor is more of a yellow coloring with brown on the top. This one also comes with battle damage on the side as well. All right, just a few dinosaurs left. This is a Herrerasaurus. It is all green, and it has different shades of green all along its body. And it is fully adjustable with the mouth, the neck, the arms, and the legs. Over here, we've got a weird-looking dinosaur. This is the Shringosaurus. Look at those huge horns on its head, and the brown coloring on the top, and the yellow on the sides. This is quite the odd-looking dinosaur. At least I think so. And our last 2 dinosaurs of this collection. First, we've got the Great Dimorphodon. This is mostly a gray color with a dark red along the bottom of its wings, but it's still fully adjustable with its legs, its mouth, its neck, and its wings. And this velociraptor is a dark gray color with yellow detailing right along the top of it, and is fully adjustable as well.
Welcome back to the Amazing Dinosaurs channel. Today we are checking out a bunch of old Jurassic Park versus Jurassic World figurines. A lot of these figures you can't find anywhere except on like eBay, and they might be actually pretty expensive in some cases. Plus, I've even got some brand new Jurassic World figures that we're gonna open up as well today. So let's get started. First up of the brand new dinosaurs is the Zungaripterus. This is a flying dinosaur, so let's open it up and check it out. So this flying dinosaur is pretty brightly colored. It's got yellow wings and a yellow body, and then it's got the brown on the very top and on the neck and on the head. You can see there's a bit more bright coloring right on its horn and right along its eyes and nose as well. See if you can open up the mouth. Yep. You can adjust the wings, and you can move the neck around as well. And the DNA barcode is right there. Next up is the Moros Intrepidus. Let's check it out. This dinosaur is from the Jurassic World Ferocious pack, and it's pretty adjustable. You can see it's got a soft green color throughout most of its body. It's got some white, and then the orange tail at the back. Let's see if we can open up the mouth. Oh, it's really difficult, but you can. And its joints are pretty articulated as well. You can move the arms, the neck, you can move the legs, and the tail too. Here we've got the Rowdy Roars Atrociraptor. Let's check it out. All right, here is the Atrociraptor. Just put batteries in it, so let's see what it can do. You can see that there's a button up top here and a power switch. Let's turn on the power and let's press the button and see what happens. Oh, that's interesting. So the body does move. It does like this little wiggling thing. If I put it down on the table, I bet it would walk. That's pretty interesting. I do love the coloring on this as well. It is a bright orange color over most of its body. It's got the brown on the top and a little bit of yellow detailing on the legs. It's pretty cool. And last of the brand new dinosaurs is Velociraptor Charlie from the Camp Cretaceous set. All right, another Velociraptor to add to my huge Velociraptor collection. And it's got an action button right here on the top for some slashing. Let's check that out. Looks like it doesn't work too well. Yeah, the slashing action seems like it kind of gets stuck a bit. But still, this is a pretty cool Velociraptor. It's pretty articulate with all its joints. I think this will look great with all my other Velociraptors. All right, let's dig into this giant bin of old Jurassic Park and Jurassic World figures. This is the 1993 Tyrannosaurus Rex. It's got a soft body all over. Its legs are made of hard plastic, as well as its arms are hard plastic that swivel. And this T-Rex has a chomping action. When you squeeze the soft stomach, its mouth opens and closes. It's a little old, so it's not working quite as well as it used to. This is pretty cool. This is a huge T-Rex. Here we've got another vintage Jurassic Park Tyrannosaurus Rex. This T-Rex also has a soft body, except for its legs is a hard plastic, as well as its arms again that you can swivel back and forth. And with this T-Rex, instead of squeezing the stomach, you can move the tail and it moves its head around. That's pretty cool. This is a super old dinosaur figure. This is the Stomp and Strike T-Rex. This is one of the older Jurassic World figures. And how it works is set it up like that, so it's in the roar position, and then you activate the tail and it comes swinging down for a chomp. That is pretty cool. Here we've got a super special and pretty hard to find Jurassic World hybrid Indominus Rex. Let's check out the features of this dinosaur. First, with the arm, if you pull that, then it has a chomping action. Second, there's a hidden button right here that when you press, it shoots out its spikes. I'm super glad I have this Indominus Rex, and I love the gold on the underbelly too. That is something you don't see very often. Here is another vintage Jurassic Park dinosaur. This is the Utah Raptor. You can see it's got the JP22 right there on its legs. It's got some huge claws on its feet that are adjustable, and you can move the legs and the arms. And with this Utah Raptor, you can actually pull the legs back to lock into place, and then there's a hidden button underneath its tail that you press to swing them forward. So it's like a chomping action when it's standing up. Here is a vintage Jurassic Park Allosaurus. This dinosaur has a hard plastic body all around, and you can see that some body parts actually come off to reveal battle damage underneath. Look how detailed that is too. You can see like intestines in there, you can see some bone on the part that you take out. And there's even other parts that you can take out too. You can take out part of its leg, see its bone and its muscle right there. And you can even take out part of its tail too. Let's check out that bone underneath. And it just clicks right back into place. Here is another hybrid dinosaur. This is from the old Jurassic World toy line. This is a hybrid Tyrannosaurus Rex. You can see those spines right on the top there. You can actually hide them, and the ones right next to its head. And then when you press this button right here, they'll all slide out. That's pretty cool. Plus, that button doubles as a chomping button. This has some pretty unique coloring on it too. This one back here is a Jurassic Park vintage toy. I believe this is a baby T-Rex, if I remember correctly. You can see it has some battle damage right there on the side. And like many of the other vintage figures that I have, it's body is soft, aside from its hands and its feet. And it's got a mostly brown body with the darker brown spots and stripes as well. Back here, we've got a special edition Ankylosaurus. This one's pretty special because it actually has this additional shell that you can remove to reveal the normal shell. And look, it's even got some battle damage right there on the side. So this is pretty cool, and you just click it right back on. And this Ankylosaurus has an action as well. When you move this leg back and forth, you can see that it sticks its head out, and it swings its tail too. Here's another Jurassic World T-Rex. You won't see the JW tattoo on its leg because this one was colored differently. So this one is a red color with black spots and stripes all over, and it's got the chomping action button on its back too. This is pretty cool. Right over here, we've got another vintage Jurassic World figure made by Kenner. This is the Chasmosaurus. It's got that huge shield in the front. It's got the 3 horns on its head. Plus, with this figure, when you move the leg, it moves its head up and down for a roaring action. This is a Ceratosaurus with battle damage. It's got the red on the top with the black stripes, and the rest of its body is a light tan color. And it's pretty articulate with the arms and the legs. Plus, with the tail, when you move that up and down, it opens and closes its mouth. Here we've got an even smaller T-Rex. This is also from the old Jurassic World toy line. It's got the battle damage on the side. Arms and legs can move, and with the tail, you can control the head. You can go up and down, back and forth, and you can open and close the mouth all in one. Right over here is a big winged dinosaur. I believe this is a pteranodon. You can fold in the wings, make it easier for storage, and it's got 2 buttons on its back. One flaps the wings, and one opens and closes the mouth. Here we've got a bunch of classic Jurassic World velociraptors. I have a ton of these. You can see that these 2 are tan with the green striping on top. This one is a dark green with the black striping on top. And with each of them, you can move the arms and the legs. Can't open the mouth or close them or anything like that. But these are actually some of my biggest velociraptors, which is pretty cool. This is the Ankyloranodon, and it's a pretty weird looking dinosaur. It's got a light color over most of its body and the bright red striping right on the top all the way to the tail. See, it's got some spikes or feathers or something like that on the top of its head, on its back, and on its arms, like wings as well as right on the tip of its tail. And with this figure, you can move its leg up and down for a roaring or chomping action. Here we've got a basic Jurassic World Spinosaurus. You can't open and close the mouth or adjust the neck on this one. And it is smaller than a lot of the other Spinosaurus figures that I have. But it's still got the same iconic coloring as my other Spinosauruses, with the red on the top, the white in the middle, and the green on the bottom, as well as the red right around its eyes. Next up, from Jurassic World, we've got a Dilophosaurus that is super brightly colored, with orange and green and yellow. This is a super colorful dinosaur. Plus, with this figure, it comes with an action. When you move the tail up and down, it swings its head up and down. Over here, from Jurassic World again, is a Ceratosaurus with pretty unique coloring. It's got brown over its whole body, and then a light orange detailing on its back all the way to its horn. And the action button on its back activates its roar and its jaw. Next up, from the Jurassic World toy line, JP63, we've got a classic Baryonyx. This dinosaur is super thin looking, and with its right foot, you can move it back and forth to twist its neck back and forth too. Here is another hybrid dinosaur from Jurassic World. This looks to be like a Triceratops and Stegosaurus hybrid. Plus, it's got the battle damage right there on the side. This dinosaur is super bright with a light blue on most of its body and dark blue detailing on its feet and in the front too. And this dinosaur has an action. When you move the tail, it swings its head forward for a stabbing action. This one is a similar hybrid as the one we just saw, but with different coloring. You can see it's a dark green with some tan detailing on its body, with the same battle damage. I believe this is also a Stegosaurus and Triceratops hybrid, with the same stabbing action too. This classic Jurassic Park figure, I believe, is called an Amargospinus. It's got some bright red accenting on the top of its body. It's got some horns right there on its neck, and the rest of its body is black and tan. Let's check out the actions on this dinosaur. You can see when you move this leg, it activates those spines to go up. It also moves those spines on its neck, and it opens and closes its mouth for a roar too. So it's doing 3 things at once. I see a few more Jurassic World Velociraptors. See, we've got the dark green with black striping. We've got a brown with gray striping. We've got a special one over here that is a bright green with red striping, and this one actually has a few actions on it. It's got a battle damage button right on its side, and the tail activates the mouth too. I think there's one more back here. Yep, here is another Velociraptor, also with the battle damage on its side and the tail chomping action. This figure is another vintage Jurassic Park figure made by Kenner. This is a Pachycephalosaurus. You can see it's still got the restraint around its waist, but when you take that off, you can see that there's actually some battle damage revealed underneath, which is pretty cool. And as you're probably guessing, since it's a Pachycephalosaurus, the action button that you press right here is for the headbutting. But this figure is so old that it'll actually fly off. As you can see, it's kind of broken. But that's still a pretty cool action for a Pachycephalosaurus. Over here, we've got some small Jurassic World Indominus Rex figures. This one's the smallest, so let's check this one out first. You can see that there's some battle damage on the side, and just like those smaller T-Rexes we saw earlier, you can use the tail to control the face to open and close the mouth, to move the neck around, and all that. This slightly larger Indominus Rex has battle damage as well, but you can open and close this one actually. And then you can just pop it right open. Plus, you can use the tail for the chomping action too. Here's a big dinosaur. This is from the Jurassic World Legacy Collection. This is the Extreme Chompin' Spinosaurus. It's got the green body with the red and white stripe. And of course, you can move the neck around and activate the chomping with the button on the top of its head. Here's an even smaller Spinosaurus, but this one looks a lot different. This is an older Spinosaurus figure from Jurassic World. See that it's blue along most of its body. It's got some gold coloring on its belly, and then the bright red spine. And like the small Indominus Rex and small T-Rexes that we saw earlier, you can use the tail to move the neck and open and close the jaw. We've got another big T-Rex. This is from Jurassic World. It's tan in color all over its body, and it's got the button on the top of its back that activates the jaw. Here is another vintage Jurassic Park Baryonyx. This is another super slim dinosaur again. You can see it's got the orange striping on the top. And like the other Baryonyx from Jurassic Park, when you move this leg, it twists its head around. Here we've got a super weird looking dinosaur from Jurassic Parks. This is a Lycanops. Kind of looks like a saber-toothed tiger in a way. It's got those huge fangs in its mouth, and the mouth is spring-loaded so you can open and close it. This is from Jurassic World, and I believe this is the Proceratosaurus. You can see most of its body is a light tan color with some gray detailing on its back all the way up to its face, and it's got the bright red right on top of its face too. Here is another Pachycephalosaurus, but this one is from the old Jurassic World line. And you can see with the tail that you can move its head up and down and back and forth. This is another Jurassic Park vintage toy, and it is, I believe, a Dilophosaurus. This figure is pretty small and pretty slim, but you can see those iconic frills right at the top of its head. Here are a few more Jurassic World figures. This, I believe, is another Pteranodon, with wings that you can fold up or extend. It's got the action button on its back for flapping its wings. And with this figure, you have to manually open and close its mouth. There is no button for it. This figure is a Jurassic World Mosasaurus. You can see it's got the battle damage on the side that you can open and close. Plus, with this figure, you can use the front fins to activate the jaw. We've got some more Jurassic Park vintage figures in here. This first, I believe, is a Velociraptor with red on the top and orange on the sides. This other figure I have in my hand is a baby T-Rex. You can see with this baby T-Rex that you can actually move the leg around. You can see that it's broken in a way. It did originally come with a bandage that you use to cover that. But all in all, this is a pretty cool figure. Here is another hybrid Triceratops Stegosaurus from Jurassic World. It's got the battle damage on the side, and just like we saw with the other figures, you can use the tail for a stabbing action. Here are two other similar Jurassic World figures. Both of them have the tail chomping action. You can see this one is a T-Rex with battle damage, and this one is a Spinosaurus with battle damage. Let's check out those chomping actions. And last of all is the classic Velociraptor from Jurassic Park. Let's check it out. It's got the chomping action in the front, and you can adjust the arms and the legs too.
Want to see more dino videos? Click the subscribe button now.